So I used to have a friend who has unfortunately now since passed that used to tell me the saying, memento mori, you're only human after all. Memento mori, roughly translated in Latin, is remember that you too have to die. In a sense, to remind me not only of the mortality and the morality of life, but also in the sense that to get moving and to remind yourself through it all that you're only human. Hello everybody and welcome to the vlog. It is Monday, April, I don't even know the exact date, I'm just going to throw it up here, but I want to say 13, 14. Anyways, I'm enjoying a late breakfast / lunch here in a place that I don't normally eat, the actual dinner table. I don't normally eat brown rice, but it just happened to be all I have today. So let me start off by saying I hope that all of you had a great weekend. I wish I could say the same for me, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it or downplay it. It's been a pretty long weekend, and normally that's a good thing. But it was a stressful one at that, which just made it much more unbearable. I talked a little bit about this on Friday, and I'm going to touch up a little bit about more regarding the news I got and the shifts and changes that may be coming. It's still not 110%, but it is something that affects me in a sort. So the reason I'm here, for those of you who don't know, overseas, Okinawa, Japan, is because my father served in the Navy for 27 years. We were stationed here. I was actually born here and then came back later on. And I've been here for a considerable amount of years. It's what I call home, really. Both my parents are government service workers. And I had given myself a 3-month plan, because my original plan was to go to the Philippines and reside there because I was building a house out there. However, that kind of changed. I decided I want to go stateside first. I really want to, see what's next for me in my career, and I need to surround myself as such in a better environment and all of that, and just kind of see what's next. Now, that 3-month plan essentially just got compressed into a month plan. Reason being, the government here, there's a 5-year rule, essentially. When you serve your position for 5 years, they essentially have to swap you out, and you have this ultimatum of taking this job elsewhere, or you're kind of shit out of luck. And essentially what that means is that my father will have to take a job in the States, stateside. And if he decides to do that, the most likely scenario is that my mom will follow suit, even though she could stay here if she wanted to, technically, with her SOFA status. But she'll most likely follow him to the States. And adding on to the fact that they give you a 30 to 40 day transition period to kind of uproot your life and get going. Meaning for me anyways, that like if they go, ideally, like I'm gonna have to leave here as well, unless I get like a tourist visa or something, which yeah, but I go stateside too, and then again that means that I have to figure out where I'm gonna go, where I'm gonna reside. Most likely it's gonna be California, but like all of these priorities like work, personal obligations, and things of that nature like just got compressed into this little tiny block of time to decide, to get moving, to get hustling, and on top of all of that, other responsibilities, like it's like a countdown. Like I have 30 days to enjoy as is a place that I've been for 10 years, friends that I grew up with, and that's always a hard thing to swallow. It's always a hard thing to intake. I grew up here. I've been here since I came back when I was in the 6th grade. I graduated here. I've seen almost all of my friends, pretty much all of my friends, come and go. I've seen people that I grew up with leave and go off to college, go off to stateside, get shipped elsewhere. That's kind of, you're accustomed to that in the military life. But it's a very different feeling when you know that you are the one that's leaving for the first time. Like you are the one that people will say goodbye to. And it's not the last time I'll be here, ideally. Like, of course, this is a place I'll always want to visit and see the people and the friendships I've made here, I think, are ones that I will hopefully last a lifetime. But it's still a very, like, eerie thing. It's a stressful thing. It's a lot to kind of intake all at once. Now, about the only good news I have gone this week at all is the fact that HBO is premiering 3 really great shows that I'm excited to get caught up on. So that's Veep, Game of Thrones, and Silicon Valley. It's probably about the only good news that I got thus far. And on that note, I want to pose out a question to you, because HBO, one of my definitely premiering my, like I said, favorite shows right now. HBO Go is definitely a great time to take advantage of that, especially for people like me who are overseas and I consume my content mainly online. But here's my question. With yesterday, their flagship show, Game of Thrones, premiered, and the first 4 episodes were leaked online of season 5. There's a big uproar in the community. Some people saying like, oh man, spoilers are coming. I can't tell you how many times I saw that headline. But is it really, like, are spoilers coming in the sense that the book has been out for nearly a decade? Like, these things have existed. There's been fandom. There's been websites. The spoilers have already been out there. So does it really matter if people see these leaked episodes, in the sense that, like, yes, like, there's going to be your friends or whoever who go on Twitter or whatever and spoil it per se, but I think that's, like, you should blame the people who are doing that versus, like, these leaked episodes, because I think the spoilers have been out there. So where do you guys sit on the fence as far as TV shows, book, fandom goes? Like, if things are already predestined, preordained in the books, is it considered spoilers when they get leaked out there, especially for something like that's been out for 10 plus years? Who knows? Because you can make the argument some people were born after the book. Some people, the only way they know about Game of Thrones is because of the TV show. Where do you guys sit on that side of the fence? So I'm a bit old-fashioned in the sense that time to time I like to actually just write and record my notes and thoughts on physical pen and paper. I used to always carry around notebooks of random sizes with me, in the sense that whenever inspiration struck, I would write things down. Because, we live in a digital age, and while there's a ton of apps and stuff that I use as well, sometimes there's just no substitute for physically, putting down what's in your head on a piece of paper and visualizing it. And with this move that may be in place, and the idea of compressing 3 months of my plans into 1 month, or 30 days at that, really requires me to be brutally honest with myself with what really matters right now. What are the things that I can tackle in such a short amount of time? What requires prioritization and focus, and all of those things. Like, it's giving me a kind of a countdown, and I want to be ready in the event that something happens, or it does happen, that I'm kind of prepared or have a sense of what needs to go down. So there becomes a point for me when my office kind of hits this critical mass of too much stuff and too much clutter around me. Now, generally, it's always messy. And one of the therapeutic things for me anyway, sometimes when I'm stressed out or I just can't focus on work, it's just to literally stop what I'm doing and clean up or organize the things around me. I don't know, it helps me out sometimes. It's like a physical representation of, like, a clean slate to me, and cleaning up my workspace, and sometimes that just helps me out. So my office has definitely hit that state, so I'm gonna tidy some things up. So I was filming that time lapse, and the camera got knocked over and hit the ground, and now my kit lens, which already had a problem with the autofocus, now is jammed on the 24mm mark. Like, it won't go any further than that. Just great. So I'm gonna attempt to tear this apart and fix it following a guide that I found on YouTube. No idea how this is gonna go, but I figure, why not? Might as well give it a try. So that was a complete fail. I was able to get some of the screws off, but not all of them. I don't have the appropriate tools right now, and I just can't be bothered to look around for them right now. I have to get some things done, so I'll probably come back to this later on. If anything, I could still shoot with it technically, and I was able to loosen up it a little bit so I can get it to zoom a little bit further. So right now, I mean, the focus still works, I can still use it and all that, but in all honesty, it's probably about time that I upgraded from the kit lens anyway. So it's 9 o'clock at night now. I've been doing a lot of self-reflection today, and as I talked about earlier, I think the hardest things to come to terms with are when we have to be brutally honest with ourselves and tell ourselves those self-evident truths that we know to be true, but we can't convince ourselves of completely. I've been working since 6th grade at 11 years old. I was very fortunate in that I walked out of high school financially independent. I had a decent amount of money to my name. I had successful businesses, and I had the opportunity to go anywhere I wanted to go. Literally, I mean that in the sense that my job doesn't landlock me to a specific place. However, for some reason, I found myself not able to pick anywhere. I ultimately chose that I wanted to go to the Philippines, I wanted to build a house there, I wanted to live it up, and just kind of relax. And the closer I got to that, the more I realized, like, that's not who I am. Like, I'm not this person who goes 55 miles an hour. I'm a person who goes 110 miles per hour. And I'm constantly changing. I'm constantly growing. I'm constantly adapting. And I have so much potential left, and I was settling for something that was comfortable and easy. And, you know, I was being blinded by my own success that I thought, like, now I can just settle down and live it up. But that's not, like, really what I wanted. Like, in all honesty, I was scared. I wasn't wanting to go to a place like California or New York or whatever because I was afraid of going from somewhere where I was a big fish in a small pond, big fish in a small pond, to a small fish in a big pond. I was afraid of being average again, and I know that sounds very arrogant or brass or whatever, but it's the truth. And then I realized that, you know, sometimes it's the things that we fear the most that we have to end up doing. And that's why when it came to me deciding, you know, with this the original 3-month plan, like, it was time for me to really reevaluate where I want to be, what I want to do, and that big question for me, like, what's next? I've done what I've done up to this point, but that doesn't quite matter. Like, my past and previous successes aren't going to compare to the things that I want to do. And look, I don't mean that, like, taking time off and vacation or travel, like, are bad things. Some people need that. Some people, you know, we're all built differently. And for me, like, I still personally want to travel. Like, I'm not saying, like, again, the house in the Philippines is going to be a nice place for me to call home when I want to go there and things of that nature. And I still want to travel and all of that. I think that's a very life-changing experience. But what I am saying is, as far as answering the question of what's next for me, you know, I had this idea of a cushy, comfortable lifestyle over here, or had an idea of something that was a little bit more challenging and something that I was unsure about, but that would personally probably push me forward. And I had to come to terms with that. I had to kind of, you know, see that for myself. And if anything, I'm 20 years old. I'm ridiculously young. Like, I have youth on my side in the sense that I can bounce back. I don't have super huge obligations. I have all the time in the world to bounce back if something doesn't work out, or if something isn't for me. But at the end of the day, like, I know I'm not going to find out unless I go for it. And I think it all kind of comes full circle with that saying I talked about in the beginning, memento mori, remember that you too have to die. Reminding myself that I'm human, and each day I'm trying to build this legacy. Each day, each decisions I make ultimately lead to bigger things. And, you know, I'm just trying to do my best to make the right ones and then kind of learn along the way. So it's 1 a.m. in the morning now, Tuesday morning, and back in the office, about to get started on some work. Got a little bit more rest than I had originally planned on, but nonetheless, I think that's going to wrap up the vlog. And you know what? It's a rough start this week, but hopefully it'll be a strong finish. And regardless of what happens with everything going on, I'm going to be here to document it every step of the way.